Chaim is sitting right here next to me in Eretz Yisrael. He's here. So today's sheet is dedicated to Ilui Nishmas Moras Rochaleya Basab Chaim Moshe Kohen. I had the privilege of knowing Mrs. Olinsky very well, together with her gracious husband. Both were survivors, Holocaust survivors. Recently, when you see me, you see the picture of my father behind my back on the wall. And that's a picture that was taken 15 years ago in Poland, in Lublin. We davened Shachris in the morning. That very same day, we visited Majdanek. That was the generation of giants, people that were so young, and they spent their best years in hell under the Nazis, and then they rebuilt the Jewish world. So, Moras Rochaleya Basab Chaim Moshe Kohen Shetenuach B'Sholom Al Mishkova. She and her husband established a beautiful doyer, Bonim Uvnei Bonim Moiskim B'Toyer V'Mitzvos, and she should be a Melitzas Yosher for the entire Olinsky family. And no words to thank Chaim for everything he does for me and for Klal Yisrael. So this sugya. So our dear friend Dr. Pesach Lederreich deserves a mazel tov. What is it?
Mazel
tov, Dr. Lederreich. We all owe you a great debt. So let me update you. We have a simcha in the family as well. So my granddaughter, Binyamin's daughter, got engaged last week. So Baruch Hashem, Mechayel al Chayel. And we should always share B'Seiris Tovis.
Amen.
So this topic we will be discussing today, it's a real challenge to condense this sugya into a short shiur. To me, if it would be up to me, I would divide it into 3 different parts. But we will try. We'll try to get it all in. And the question is, the concept of Be'idna Diritcha. There are some mitzvahs which you don't have a chiyuv only in certain circumstances. And in the yeshiva world, these are called mitzvot kiyumiyot, contrary to mitzvot chiyuviyot. So many mitzvahs say are incumbent upon each and every yid. Kedusha v'avdalta, kriya shema v'tfilin, lulav v'sukkah, matzah v'morah. By hook or by crook, you need to find the means to perform these mitzvahs. And if you don't, you're liable and you will be punished. But some mitzvahs, and the most striking example is tzitzis. As long as you don't wear dalet kanfis, you don't have a chiyuv of tzitzis. So if a person can go through his entire life, if he never wore dalet kanfis, he is not defined as one that is mevatel mitzvah say, shouldn't be punished. But it is the only source in Shas in which an angel from above taught a halacha to one of the Ameroim. Brings us back to the sugya of Torah Lo V'Shamayim, which I discussed extensively lately. So the Gemara says in Menachos Memalach, very first source on our sheet. Malacha ashkechei l'Rav Katina de Mechasi Sedina, an angel, a malach, found that Rav Katina was one of the Ameroim, that he wears a sadna and sadapot mitzitzis. Omalei Katina, Sadina b'kaita saba lebesitva tzitzis shotcheres mata heyoleo. So very nice. You're wearing a sadna in the summer, and then in the fall you're going to wear a saba. Was this potem in tzitzis? What's going to be with Mrs. Tzitzis? Omalei anshisu aasei. Are we punished for not being mekayim and Mrs. Say omalei bizman deikaritcha anshina. In a moment of wrath, you are punishable. So we will discuss today, what does it mean, be'idna diritcha? And what is the question, anshisu a'asei? And does this rule apply only to tzitzis or to other mitzvahs that have a similar definition? So before going further, could we have Shas Babli, Menoches Mamalav or Medalav, because I want to stress a toisis which is not on our sheet for some reason?
Yes, we have it. We have it.
So let's open Menoches. Let's open up Menoches Mem Aleph Omed Aleph. It's not on our source sheet, so there's no point in scrolling up or down. It's not on this source. If you have, I went through your sources. I don't think it's on our sheet. We just need to open up a Gemara.
Okay. Take a second.
So I'm just going to take an opportunity of the 2 seconds we have till we'll have it on the screen. Is a malach authorized to be mechadesh halachas? No. Torah lo b'shamayim. However, a malach could share with us what's happening up there. He just shared a fact. He didn't teach a halacha. He told us, Beidna deritcha, you have a problem. So he didn't teach halachas. He just told Rav Katina that in moments of wrath, you bear responsibility and you will be punished for not being Mekayim mitzvahs tzitzis. So let's scroll down. I want to take out the Menachos Gemara from the chance to open that door. There, right there. Second floor, the little one. Hey. Not Bob, hey. So, here we are. Divra Maskal and Shisu Asay. Toys explains, Kihai. We saw the Gemara, but I would like to stress the Toys and Shisu Asay. Rav Katina asks the Malach, are we punished for not performing a mitzvah say? Toys explains, no, scroll down. Kihai, she'eno dem chayev liknas taras ha'machuyev, emein lo, aval asay gamur, afilo beis shelamat o yamaken, oisad sheteitzer afshoy. Toys says, if it's a real mitzvah say, like the ones I mentioned, lulav, sukkah, matzah, moroyer, kriya shema, any other mitzvah say, of course we are punished. The question was only a mitzvah say like tzitzis. If I don't wear a garment that has dalat kanfis, I'm not mechuyev in tzitzis. That was the question, and that was the response of the malach. Be'idna deritcha an shisu. Now let's go back to our source sheet. Toises in Shabbos Lamed Beis, and the same Toises is in Erachin Davidalet, but it's the same. So we have Toises in Shabbos. Dafka b'yameim sheyu malbushem kach bi'ar bekanfes hoyen enoshim mishelo hoyolem tzitzis ki demuchach b'menoches gabi yom alei malach al Rav Katina. אבל השתא שאין העולם רגילים במלבושים כאלו, אין צורך לקנוס. Interesting. In the days of Toises, most people didn't wear tzitzis. Today, tzitzis is your identity. Every from person, or the vast majority of it, observant people, wear tzitzis. You know, my little daughter, staying with me now in the house, so my 5-year-old Einiko, he sleeps with tzitzis every night. You know, today, everybody wears tzitzis. 50 years ago, 40 years ago, people were embarrassed in the workplace to wear tzitzis. No longer. But in the days of Toises, most people didn't wear tzitzis. So Toises says, only in the days of Chazal, where most garments had dalet kanfis, and everybody's wearing tzitzis, and you're an exception, and shisu, then you're punishable. But in nowadays, right, Toises, most people, our garments don't have dalet kanfis, so most people don't wear tzitzis. Ain't tzorach l'knais. So you don't need to buy tzitzis. And you're not going to be punished, not even bein nederitcha. Nevertheless, אך טוב לקנוס טלס ולבוא לכל בכל יום, כדי אומר בסוף פרק המניסויתו, וכילך על מפיריו יורצה משה רבינו, אלא אומר משה מצווה שהוא חלקיים מסקיים על יוד. It's not exact wording of Saita Yudalet, but the Gemara in Saita says, Loines Abba Moshe lekona says so lekayim mitzvahs atluyas bonas. So Tosfos compares tzitzis to Moshe Rabbeinu being me'ever Yarden, and he davens 550 in tefillas, pleading with the Kodesh Baruch Hu, please let me in. And the Gemara says, why? Moshe Rabbeinu wanted to be Makayim mitzvahs atluyas bonas. So Tosfos says, same for Sukkah. So what Tosfos means to say, it is a lower level. You're not going to be punished, not even be'idne deritcha, because the concept of idne deritcha was not only in days of yore, when everybody else does wear, and you are a yotzim and a cloud, and you don't wear. That seems to reflect a zilzul in mitzvahs. Everybody is wearing, why don't you? But if most people don't wear tzitzis, you're not going to be punished, but it's still the right thing to do. And now we go over to Psochim Kuf Yud Gimel. Shiva Menuden L'Shomayim. We don't know exactly how to define Menuden L'Shomayim, but we know what Nidu is. Nidu is some form of chayim, being excommunicated. It's Midas Hadin. So there's a concept of a Menuden L'Shomayim. Based in doesn't take action. Based in will not punish you in any way. But you should know you're Menuden L'Shomayim. Who are the seven? Yudi she'en lo isha. Yesh lo isha ve'en lo bonim. Yesh lo bonim ve'ein megadman atal metoyra. Mi she'en lo tefillin beroisha ve'tefillin bezoy ve'tzitzis be'bigdar mezuzah be'pitchoi. And the strange one is amanei amanola meraglev. You know, little kids come home from nursery with a sheet with 5 pictures, and they need to circle the Yoitze Doifen. I don't know how you say Yoitze Doifen in English, but in every nursery, and it's all probably the same in America and the entire world, you know, to develop their perception and understanding of kids, you want them to analyze it, to think. So you're going to have on the same picture, a bus and a train and a car and a truck and a bicycle and a watermelon. And the child needs to decide which of the 5 is a Yoitze Doifen. What? All the others have wheels, or the others are means of transportation, besides a watermelon. So, which is the Yoitze Doifen? Shiva Menuden L'Shomayim. Amanei amanola meraglev. It's not an avera, it's not a mitzvah. But we're not going to discuss that now. Other opportunities. The Siyata D'Shmai, we should have a million other opportunities. As much koyach in years as the Kodesh Baruch Hu will give us. But even the ones that are halachas, it's a vast array. Tosfos writes, next source, if a person does whatever he could do to have children, he's an honest. Kodesh Baruch Hu wouldn't be angry. He turns to a Kodesh Baruch Hu and he says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, it's up to you. I'm doing what I can. And the same Mishain Lo Yisho. Person did every ishtadlus, didn't work out. So most of the Avedas in this list are harsh Avedas. Lo nivra ha'olam elo bishul pri urvio. If a person chooses a lifestyle, he doesn't want to get married, he's a Bal Avera. It's even worse if he does get married and he prevents his wife from having kids. That's even worse. That's a bittul of mitzvahs to say, maybe it's even worse than all of them. You have kids and you don't teach them Torah. The biggest chiyuv every Jew has is to pass on the torch, pass on the tradition. What you received from your father and grandfather, pass it on to the coming generations. Tefillin and mezuzah are chiyuvim. What about tzitzis? What about tzitzis? So what are we dealing with? A person that's wearing dalat canvas without tzitzis? That would be similar to Mishain Tefillin Beroisha V'Mezuzah B'Pisru. You're living in a house and you don't have a mezuzah. The Tosfos has a different interpretation. Let's see Tosfos. And like bonim neder dafka de pshios shenem asasing bepriyavi dumia da achrina. Mishen atfilim beroisha v'zoya v'tzitzis bebigdoi ma'arish yesh le'vena manichan. Tosfos explains, it's not that he wears dalet kafis without tzitzis. No. He has tzitzis in his house. And he doesn't care to put them on. It's still different than tefillin. Tefillin is a chiyuv. Like Kiddush, like Kriyas Shema. Tzitzis is not a chiyuv as long as you don't wear the beged. But Tosfos says, if you have tzitzis in your house and you don't care to put them on, menuda l'shamayim. Inami, the other teretz of Tosfos is, afilu ein loi. Yes, the chazav v'lahei v'yasmin v'echir k'di ashkechem b'soita b'Moshe Rabbeinu. Why doesn't Tosfos quote Menuchas Mem? And he does quote Soita Yudan. Why doesn't Tosfos quote Menuchas Mem? Would we say because in the days of Tosfos, most people didn't have tzitzis, and that's why it's not Menuda l'Shamayim? But Tosfos is mefarish a brayso. Shabbos Lamed Beis, Tosfos says a halacha. In our day and age, there no longer is a pachad of nederitcha. But Tosfos is mefarish a gemara. So why wouldn't Tosfos quote Menuchas Mem? Obviously, maybe Menuda Shemayim is a lesser level than in nederitcha. And even though if everybody wears tzitzis and he doesn't, be'id nederitcha, you will be punishable. Maybe it still is not menuda l'shamayim, and that is why Tosfos needs to bring Soit Yudalet. By Soit Yudalet, all we see there is Moshe Rabbeinu. That is what he aspired to. How do we know he's menuda l'shamayim? So if it would be up to me, I see three different levels. One level is a midas chasidus, Moshe Rabbeinu. It's the right thing to do. And Tosfos writes in Masechet Shabbos, even our day and age, most people don't wear tzitzis, but you should. Chacham, leiv, yikach, mitzvahs. We're here to make HaKadosh Baruch Hu happy. We're here to be Makayim mitzvahs. Try chaparai, whatever mitzvah you could get. It's to your benefit. Moshe Rabbeinu aspired to come into Eretz Yisrael to take upon himself mitzvahs that he was not mechuyev in Chutz La'aretz. That's level number one. Level number two would be menuda l'shamayim. And according to the first teretz in Tosfos, that is only if you have tzitzis at home and you don't care to put them on. Level number three would be be'id nederitcha. Be'id nederitcha, I don't have tzitzis. Do I need to buy? Do I need to spend money? As long as I don't wear dalet kafis, I don't have a chiyuv. Be'id nederitcha, yes. And Tosfos Shabbos says, it's just because everybody does, everybody else does, and you don't. So, is tzitzis an exception? Maybe because the importance of tzitzis. You know, tzitzis is one of a handful of mitzvahs upon which Chazal say, Shkula mitzvahs tzitzis keneged kol mitzvahs shebetayah. Let's have a look at the tour, coming source. I'll tell my son next week to enumerate the sources. If we have numbers, it'll be easier to navigate. So the tour, for Pishain or the Mechayev Liknuis Talas Basar Bekampus Kadesh Yestayr Betzitzis, Eladafkem Roitzelis Casas Betalas Bastalat Kampus Chayev Rata Betzitzis, Makam Toy Venochoin. Leis Kolodem Zoy Vezoras Bemissis Shiel Begit Kot Mitzuyat Shiel Bashoto Kolayom, Ki Kar Mitzvosa, as Chiras Mitzvahs, Ubachol Shobachol Reda Tzorach Lakach. Powerful words. The tour writes, as long as you don't wear dalet kafis, you don't have a mitzvah. However, it is a minig toiv you should always wear a telescope. And why is that? It's a reminder, and we desperately need that reminder. And the coming few sources are just a compilation of Divrei Chazal, in which we see that mitzvah stands apart. And then we have a Gemara Masechet Shabbos. Omer Reb Nachman, Teisili. Kodesh Baruch Hu should give me sechar. Kiyem is mitzvah tzitzis. Omer Rav Yosef Barei Darabba, Ovichu b'ma'azor Tfei. Could you share with us? Rav Yosef asked the son of Rabbi, what was his mitzvah that he was nizar more than all the others? Betzitzis. Shabbos Kuf Nun Gimel. B'choles yibedech lavonim. Elo tzitzis. So, would we say that the concept of Idna Derischa applies only to tzitzis? Maybe. Or does it apply to other mitzvahs which are similar to tzitzis? This brings us, I think we will skip a few Ma'amakoymes and maybe we'll get back to them later. I would skip till after Chuvas Maharamshik, even though it's long, and go over to Dina Nesias Kapayim and Berchas Koyanim, Simen Kuf, Chof, Ches. We're going to skip right now to the Kiva Eger because this is a fascinating discussion. So I said, maybe Mrs. Sissis is different. Shulchan Aruch also on the very first Sif in Simach of Dalad writes, like the tool, person should always wear a telescope. So the Shulchan Aruch says in Sif Dalad and Hilchas Berchas Koyanim, Kisha Koyanim, Einam Roitzem La Lois Leduchan, Einam Sichim Lishois Chutz Mabesa Knesses, Ele B'Shoshe Koira Chazan Koyanim. אבל כדי שלא יאמרו שהם פגומים, נהגו שלא לכונס לבית הכנסת עד שיגמרו ברכס כהנים. The wording of this seif, especially the first 5 words, seem to indicate that if Kohen is lazy, doesn't want to go up to the Duchan, doesn't need to. So before the Shliach Tzibah says, Koyanim, he leaves the shul. And if he leaves the shul, and he wasn't called upon to go up to the Duchan, he doesn't have a chiyuv. Recently, I was asked a shaila, strange shaila. A person, an American, came to live in Etzisron, and he doesn't like Berchas Koyanim. He's a Kohen. You know, he needs to take off his shoes and put the shoes back on. He's 50 years old. He never did it. So what does he do? He davens a long shmainas, and he became a frumer. So by the time the Kohen need to be out of the Duchan, he's still in the middle of the Lachash. Maybe he starts late, I don't know. And I gave him Musa. You're out of your mind. Because that's you didn't have the schus to do. Come to Etzisor. You have a mitzvah to say the Oraisa every day. And what a precious mitzvah. HaKadosh Baruch Hu asks you, please bench my kendalach. And you don't like this mitzvah. Are you crazy? I gave him Musa. I say your long davening is not as important. Daven like everyone else. Daven like you did in America. And when it comes to Birchas Kohanim, you should be happy to rush up there and to bestow Birchas Hashem al Am Yisrael. So what does the Shulchan Aruch say? Kisha Koyanim einam roitzem la ladichan. If they don't want to go up to the Duchan, all they need to do is leave the shul before the Shliach Tzibah says Koyanim. So the Mishnah Berurah explains. Let's have a look at the Biur Halacha. In Mishnah Berurah shekosav kegon mepnei chul. It's not that they don't want to. The person isn't feeling well. He's nauseous. He has a fever. Or an elderly person. He's afraid he might fall. You know, you cover your eyes. You might become dizzy for any reason. So the Mishnah Berurah says, even though we might have a mistake understanding from the Shulchan Aruch, kishe koyanim einam roitzem alalos leduchin. And we might feel that, depends, is he up to it or not? No, chas v'shalom. He needs to go up Duchan, but if he has difficulty, he's ill, he's frail, an elderly person, you know, for a few months, I was walking with crutches. I had a problem with my knee and a wheelchair. Baruch Hashem, it's another opportunity for me to thank Kadosh Baruch Hu. Kadosh Baruch Hu just took it away, like he does so many times. I davened to Kadosh Baruch Hu. I can't afford this schlepping around with crutches. Back to normal, walking normally, no surgery, no medicine, no nothing. Just the Kadosh Baruch Hu took it away. So I know what it is. Sometimes you have difficulty with every step. Every step is painful. So the Mishnah Berurah explains, it's not that they have the option, they don't feel like it. So let's see what the Bialoch has. It's like tzitzis. Tzorach lasses begeshel kanfis idna deritcha. So the Mishnah Berurah compares duchan to tzitzis. So the first thing we learn from the Mishnah Berurah is the concept of idna deritcha is not unique to tzitzis. It's a general concept. So the very first source we studied today is the Tosfos in Menachos. Tosfos says there are mitzvahs that say that are a chiyuv. Of course, you're punished, not only in a moment of wrath, every time, like Kiddush V'Avdolah, Lulav and Sukkah, but we're dealing with mitzvahs in which you only have a chiyuv in certain circumstances. And in that way, and in that bechina, duchening and tzitzis have it said the shuk, they have a common denominator. If you're not called upon, you're not mevatel mitzvahs to say. If you don't wear dalet kanfis, you're not mevatel mitzvahs to say. So the Mishnah Berurah compares berachos kohanim to tzitzis. So what we understand, unlike what we might understand from the Shulchan Aruch and the Torah Simach of Dalet, tzitzis is unique. It's different. No, the concept of idna deritcha applies to berachos kohanim as well. And then he quotes another source. Gemara Mefureshu b'Kiddush HaGimel. Philippoiter atzmem is to say koidim delim tizman chiyuva feloche ne'emar al zeh v'yorei b'rakecha. I need to give you the background. What the Gemara in Kedushin is about. Oh, we have it. We have it. One line down. Gemara Kedushin. We're dealing with the mitzvah of mipnei seva tokom ve'hidar tu pnei zoke. So when a Talmud Chacham enters the room, everybody needs to rise and stand up. So the Gemara says, Pliny Almighty doesn't feel like standing up for any reason. So he closes his eyes. I don't see. And if I don't see, I'm not mechuyev to stand up. The Gemara says, the Mishnah Berurah's understanding is, if I don't see, I don't have a chiyuv. But you circumvented the mitzvah. You close your eyes because you don't want to be mekayim the mitzvah. And the Mishnah Berurah compares the same. A kohen walks out of shul because he doesn't want to be mekayim the mitzvah berachos kohen. So let me give you a short bechina. We have 3 examples. How would you state them? Example number 1 is the fundamental source of our shir today. Tzitzis. I don't have a mitzvah tzitzis unless I wear dalet kanfis. If I don't wear dalet kanfis, am I liable? Will I be punished in a moment of wrath? Idna deritcha. Example number 2, berachos kohanim. I walk out of shul because I don't want to be oiled duchan. Is that the same as a person not wearing tzitzis? Yesh mokon godol lachalik. I think if a person doesn't wear tzitzis, it's shaval tais. Person is in shul and he walks out. I think that is worse than a person just not wearing tzitzis. Especially in a time where not everybody wears tzitzis. Even when others do wear. It's a sheval tais. But you're in shul and you're walking out because you don't want to be mekayim the mitzvah. I think that is chomer tfei. Example number 3. Person is in shul, he knows the Talmud Chacham is entering, he closes his eyes. That's the worst. That's even worse than a person going out of shul. He goes out of shul then Sivas Achiyuv doesn't apply to him. And if you're sitting in the room and a Talmid Chacham walks in, Sivas Achiyuv applies. You're just closing your eyes because you don't want to be Makayim. You know the Chazon Ish? We don't have a Chazon Ish on our source sheet. Chazon Ish Even HaEzer Kuf Memches. I wonder, I don't think it's an MITZVAH Chacham. I don't know which programs have the Chazon Ish. I don't know. I don't think it's an MITZVAH Chacham. Chazon Ish Even HaEzer Kuf Memches is Chidushim ala daf Mesechet Chidushim.
Even HaEzer Kuf Memches.
On daf Lamed Gimel. Kuf Memches is Chidushim on Mesechet Chidushim. Daf lefi adapim, daf achrei daf. If we could have Chazon Ish Even HaEzer Kuf Memches, we'll just scroll to daf Lamed Gimel Lamed Aleph. The Gemara we have on our screen, if we could have it.
We'll give it a shot.
The Chazon Ish understands the Gemara totally different than the Mishnah Berurah. According to the Chazon Ish, even if you close your eyes, you're mechuyev to stand up. Doesn't bother you at all. It's not like a kohen leaving the shul. If you're aware that a Talmid Chacham entered the room, you need to rise. Even if you're blind, you need to rise. So when you're closing your eyes, you're just pretending that you don't see. It doesn't bother you at all. And that's why the Gemara says, you could fool your brethren. You could fool the others. You can't fool a Kodesh Baruch. Kodesh Baruch Hu knows. You didn't fall asleep. You're going to tell your friends, oh, I didn't know. You could fool them. You can't fool a Kodesh Baruch Hu. So according to the Chazon Ish, Kiddush Lamed Gimel has nothing to do with Orach Chaim Kuf Chof Ches. It has nothing to do with Menachos Mem Aleph. When he closes his eyes, he's a balavera. It's like a person that didn't shakel a lulav. He didn't make kiddush. That's an avera. Okay, so we have some scrolling to do. I think it's about 10 pages. If we can scroll fast. This is Daf al Daf Mesechet Kiddush. Lamed Gimel Amud Aleph. This is Hey. It's a long simon. Chazon Ish has a lot to say on Mesechet Kiddushin. Could we stop? Let's see where we're up to. Chavei. Let's go down another page or so. Chav Ches, down. Okay, here we are. One more down. We're on Lamed Beis. Lamed Beis, Lamed Beis, Lamed Gimel. Stop. Let's scroll up. You know, so many of these sources I quote from my memory and from my Sforim. I don't see it right now. Where did I pick this up?
Here, the bottom of this piece.
Okay, here we are. Exactly.
The last 3 lines.
ובכלל ראיה, הוא שמיע והקורא וידיע. ושאפה קוראים בקימה שיש בו עידו. ויעצה מן צורך לא משלו יודע כלל, אם הוא תוך דלת אמס. וצורך עיון. So the Chazon Ish writes, if you are aware that a Talmid Chacham came into the room, you need to stand. And even if you're blind, you still need to stand. And that is V'yorei Malakah. So I think, in a way, these 3 halachas are similar. Tzitzis, Nesias Kapayim, a kohen leaving the room, and closing your eyes. You don't want to see the Talmid Chacham that came in, but they're not exactly the same. And now let's have a look at Brachos Lamed Hey. Brachos Lamed Hey. Bo v're'ei shelo k'deres ereshenim deres achronim. Deres ereshenim ayu machnisim pereseim derech taksamon k'dei lachayvon b'masa. Deres achronim machnisim pereseim derech gagois k'dei lepatron b'masa. There is no chiyuv of maisa unless the produce is brought into your chutzah, into your yard, into your private domain, by the main entrance, be it through a window or a side door, no chiyuv maisas. Early generations loved mitzvahs, so they always brought the peiros into their private domain in a way to be chayav b'maisas. Deres achronim just try to circumvent and to get out of the mitzvahs. And they make an effort to throw the fruit and the products through the window or a side door because they don't want to give maisa. So the Gemara seems to say, Deres Rishonim were greater tzaddikim than Deres achronim, but it doesn't seem to be an Aveda. And the Shoyel HaMeishav asks, why is this different than the Gemara in Kedushin Lamed Gimel? Close your eyes because you don't want to stand up. You bring the fruit in through the window because you don't want to give maisa. So in Kedushin, the Gemara says, "V'yoreiso melokecho." In Brachos, seems to say it's just not the right thing to do. You're not on par with your forefathers. You don't rise to the challenge like Doides HaRishonim, but doesn't seem to be an Aveda. So the Shoel HaMeishav has a lengthy tshuva dealing with this question. I think it's the last source on our sheet. So let me once again try to differentiate. Let's have a look at the Shoel HaMeishav going all the way down.
Keep on going.
Here we are. Ma shehikshe kedushin lamed gimel amru. Yochel yatzameina. V'yoreisem alakecho mashma mezeh. Da'af koidem shebo chiyav ha'mitzvah eina reshai. Kuf Chav. First column. The only tshuva that starts in the first column. Mashe Hiksha, 5 lines down. Mashe Hiksha Kedushin Lamed Gimel Amru Yochel Yatzameina. Mashma Mezed Af Koidim Shebo Chiyuv HaMitzvah Eino Reshai Levakesh Takbola Alav Kiyaz Atzmai. Al Ze Hiksha Mekame Mekoimis. Muter HaRav Al Atvo Lepotra Men HaMasres. Gam Muter Avkiya Mebchoiro. Loikosh, Shama Chiv Sheyechaved Azoken, or Talmud Chochem. Emken, Ze Guf HaMitzvah Shelo Yatzameino, Kedei Sheyechaved Talmud Chochem. Gam Keis HaMitzvah Shezeh Kvoide Shel Chochem, Ubeze Nikva Aves Toire V'Yira Shemayim, V'yeh Talmud Chochem Choshev B'Yeino. Let me try to better explain what the Shoel HaMeishav means to say. Sometimes you could get out of the loop. But what's happening is against Ratzon Hashem. Talmud Chacham walked into the room and one person remained seated. That's a B'gia B'Koida Torah. That's wrong. On the personal level, you got out of the loop. I didn't see, and if I didn't see, I'm poto, according to the understanding of the Shoel HaMeishav and the Mishnah. In your personal level, you're poto. But it's against Ratzon Hashem. But Tumas HaMaises, if there is no Chiyuv Maisa, there is no Chiyuv Maisa. I think Tumas HaMaises would be more similar to tzitzis or to a kohen walking out of the shul. It's wrong, but it's not an aveir. Because if there is no Chiyuv, there is no Chiyuv. If I wasn't in shul when they said koyanim, then I wasn't in shul, didn't have a chiyuv. If I didn't wear dalet kanfis, don't have a chiyuv. Nevertheless, as we saw in the various sources, the right thing to do is try to get into it, at least be'idna darit. But I think sitting in shul and closing your eyes, that's an avera. And that is why Chazal say, v'yareso me'elokecha. That's a lack of yiras shamayim. Because that is hefech mitzvahs ha-Torah. Mitzvahs ha-Torah is you should rise and give cover to Torah. You didn't leave the shul, you're sitting there and you don't rise. So on the personal level, maybe I didn't see, but open your eyes, you should see. The fact you're sitting in shul and not standing up is an avera. That in itself is an avera. What am I over? Maybe you're not over in Mepnei Sevetokum. You didn't see, but you're over on the Oresa Me'elokech. Because what you're doing is 100% neged mitzvahs ha-Torah. It's different than not wearing dalet kanfis. If I don't wear dalet kanfis, I don't have a chiyuv tzitzus. If I'm not in shul, I don't need to be out of the duchen. And if my parents didn't come on down through derech shah, I don't have a chiyuv to mitzvahs. It's just like Peres Chutzlaretz that you don't have a chiyuv to mitzvahs. It's just like Gedula Nachim, you don't have a chiyuv to mitzvahs. But sitting in shul and not rising, that's an avera. Now we reach the last stage of our discussion, which is fascinating. Going back to the Tosas and Menachos that we discussed, mamish at the outset of today's shir. Tosas says, there are mitzvahs that if you violate, of course you're punishable, not only being the deritcha. שאין אדם חייב להיכנס תלס המחויב ומיין לו. אבל עסק גמור אפילו באיזן של המטה, מה כאן לא יסעד שתצא נפשי? What does Eser Gomer mean? All mitzvahs say that are chayva al ha'adam. The Puna Me'iros was one of the great Achronim. And when I saw the Puna Me'iros, I was shocked. But then I realized we find the same in the Ramban and in the Ritva. The understanding of the Puna Me'iros, the Meir Eisenstadt, he was a Rav in the city Eisenstadt, going back almost 400 years. And the Gemara of Rav Katina, going back to the Gemara in Menachos. Peshu HaTosfos, and she saw liknos talas amachuya v'mein lo, aval ha'esek gamor, afilu beizin shel hamata makin hoysa. So the Marsha says, Din Shemayim es choma medin adam. Makan Isat Shetetz Enasha is only before we want to coerce him to be Makayim the mitzvah. But it's not punishment. Only a lav is punishable. Makan Isat Shetetz Enasha is only to coerce him and to see that he is Makayim the mitzvah. Din Shemayim Kili, Yachash over al Asay Yoisem over Alois, so the Fizi Shloim Mediaf al Esek Gomar Shoal Iman Shisu. Ve'ein Makan Isat Shetetz Enasha, Yisham, Mayra Koidim Shover al Oesek, Kedei Lakayim, Aval Yachash over al Oesek, Ein based in Manisha, I say.
Are we frozen? Good, Rav, can you hear us?
No, the bandwidth cut out over there.
Okay, I want to ask the Rav about that Medrash. I don't understand Pshat Medrash. Okay, sure he'll come back on.
Yeah, he'll be right back on.
Okay, so let me tell you what the schedule here. Tonight there'll be a Chazar Shir at 7. Tomorrow we're going to have the second half of Rabbi Smith Shir, which will be the last Shir on Rambam Tekasuda. We did Paris on Thursday, and tomorrow the second half of the Shir will be on Mizainis. So the Achana and the Shir itself will be on the Nin of Mizainis, the Sikkim of all the Shitais, Mizainis Rambam Tekasuda. On Tuesday, Agoyim Rabbi Lindinsky will be here to introduce the last major sugya which we're going to deal with, which is the wrap up of all the previous sugyas, which is Iker and Tafel. It's going to go through basically the whole Perik. So we'll have 2 weeks of intensive discussion about that. If we have any time at the end, we'll do the sugya at the end of Hilchais Shahakoy Legabe Mayim. Mayim has all sorts of blocks associated with it. That's the sugya for the next 2 weeks. I will send out a large group of supplementary marmakaimis. They're mostly in the book, but you have a few more organized on Iker and Tafel. There's a major branch in the book in Iker and Tafel. The last Shir Iker and Tafel, you can see it there, about 7 or 8 pages. In addition, it's been extracted from 30 pages or 40 pages. I'll send it out too, so everybody will have plenty of marmakaimis for the next 2 weeks. Sorry about this, Rabbi Sai. I'm not sure if the Rav knows that he's not on. Is that possible? No, it's not possible because his screen must have gone blank, right?
Not necessarily.
He can be talking and not knowing that he's off. There he is.
The Rav is
Okay.
back.
He would see, he would not see our screen. He would not see.
Yeah, we lost you at the beginning, in the middle of the Panamiris here.
Okay, so the Panamiris is Chalak and Taisvis. And he says the question was, is there an Oynish b'dei Shamayim al bitur mitzvahs asay? There is no Oynish based in, but maybe there would be an Oynish b'dei Shamayim. And there's no raya from Makanoi Sachetets and Avshoy. Because Makanoi Sachetets is to see to it that he performs. But if he was Mavatal, there is no Oynish. So maybe there's no Oynish b'dei Shamayim either. And actually we find that in the Ritva. Let's have a look at the Ritva on Rosh Hashanah. Omer Rabbi Yitzhak kol shona shein token lo b'tchila Mariam lo b'soifa. Perush al yidei tzorah sheboas u'mesanu u'mesniyim b'shoifas. My time de lo yavzotan. Midenu k'tai tama mash m'shein lo yoim shein token klal. Yim ken lo mali yai tama. Yom ze yom adin, v'yomer HaKadosh Baruch Hu sheneslatza lafonov b'shoifer sheniske bedin ka'odem ha'mislatza v'keshe'onu poishem b'mitzvah zu anu nenoshim lo mipnei mitzvah zu du lo yamshe beizin shel malo ha'esa ero be'idna deritcha. So the Ritva says if we don't blow shofar on Rosh Hashanah, we're punished be'idna deritcha. Only be'idna deritcha? That goes against Tosfos and Menachos Memalef. The Ritva says, if you don't blow shofar on Rosh Hashanah, you're going to be punished because you're losing out the most powerful tool to be Ma'or Rachamei Shamayim and Kapara Zavayin. Not because Bittul misses shofar, that is only punishable be'idna deritcha. Gewaltige Chiddush. In Ritva. We find the same in Ramban. Let's open up Torah Sodom. Let's open up Torah Sodom. We're skipping the Gemara and Shabbos right now. Skipping the Chacham Tzvi right now. We might come back. But I want to focus on the more important sources. The Ramban.
You skipped it before the Shalomation.
At the moment they go on the screen, the Ramban. Torah Sodom.
No, Tzvi, Pesach. It's the block print. So keep on going. Further ahead. It's the block print. It says Torah Sodom on top. After there's something. There you go. Freeze.
Here we are. Kuf Yud Zayin. Scroll down a bit. Scroll down a bit. I want the paragraph on us. Here we are. ואויד מצינו שאומר רבנו, אם לא יודעים שיסורים באומר רבי יפשפש במעשיו שנאמר, נח בסוד רוחנו ונח קוירו, פשפש ולמוציא את לבבית לתוירה, תורה ולמוצא, וידעו שסום של האבאים, צע שיואב השם יוכיח, ויום הרב, רב ספויר אומר רבונה, כל שקודש ברוך הוא חופץ בו מדקה ביסורים, שנאמר השם חופץ דקה חולים. למדנו שיסורים בו מתחילו על מעשה ברום של אדם, והם עבר שלא תעשה, שהדין לא יעשה שיונש עליהם. לפיכך תשרה שיסור בו לא ברור לפשפש במעשה ולעשה בתשובה. וזה שנאמר נחזה מדרך קוירו. הפעם שיסור מהבית לתוירה, וכן כל קיוצא בהם ביטול מצווה סייקה הומה של רב קטינה, שנסגר אלוהי, כי אנשי יעשה, והנה דריתך אנשינה. ולפיכך מי שבוא לו ויסורים פשפש בעצה, ולא מוצא עבירה וחית, יתלה בביטול מצווה סייקה. יתלה down, יתלה בביטולי מצווה סעשי שאין מסדרס בהם לעשויסן כראוי, אלא מסעצל בסיוסן ובקיומון. So the Ramban clearly says, if you're mevatel and mitzvah say like Talmud Torah, you're nenish be'idne deritcha. And that's just like the Ritva, against Toises and Menopes. When I saw this Ramban and Ritva, let me explain to you, it's just impossible. It's just impossible. A guy, don't want to mention his name, one of the most famous pieces of literature is a book named Crime and Punishment. Avdel Elef Alfei Havdalos. Achet va'anshay kruchim yadu min hashamayim. Is it reasonable that a Kadosh Baruch Hu gives a mitzvah and it's optional? If you don't, you're not makayim the mitzvah, you're not going to be punished. Is that reasonable? Could it be b'chlal? A chiyuv, not tzitzis, not wearing dalat kafis. A chiyuv. It's optional. If you do it, you're going to get schar, but if you don't do it, you're not going to be punished. Is that reasonable? So according to the Ran and the Ritva, person didn't eat matzah, he didn't eat moral. He wasn't noitel lulav. He doesn't make kiddush and avdallah. It's not going to be punished. So this brings us to question number 2. What's pshat be'idne deritcha anshina? Does it depend whether you did the aveira be'idne deritcha? I think no. What I think is, it is punishable, but not in immediacy. When will we be punished? Be'idne deritcha. But it's going to catch up with you. You're not going to get away with it. Never. But you're not going to be punished until that moment of wrath arrives. Aval bo yavo. It will get you. It'll catch up with you. You're not going to get away with it. So most people understand be'idne deritcha. If I had the bad luck and I wasn't wearing tzitzis in the moment of wrath, then I'll be punished. But that isn't fair. 2 people did the same about exactly the same. Reuven didn't wear tzitzis all day Sunday. Shimon didn't wear tzitzis all day Monday. Reuven's good luck was Sunday was not a idne deritcha. Shimon's bad luck was Monday was idne deritcha. But that's not fair. Hashoifet kol ha'oretz lo ya'asa mishpat. So I have a different understanding in idne deritcha. It's not if you're mevatel the mitzvah be'idne deritcha. It's you're going to be punished be'idne deritcha. What's the nafkamina? You have some time to fix. You have time to do tshuva. So do tshuva as fast as possible before that moment comes, before the moment of wrath. So my argument is twofold. If idne deritcha would depend, was it the idne deritcha when I didn't wear tzitzis? Then it's not fair. 2 people did exactly the same. One will be punished and one not. in Shemayim is fear. But even beyond that, I think it is totally unacceptable that a person has a chiyuv and he's mevatlas chiyuv and he won't be punished. Achetva unsho, two sides of the same coin. Crime and punishment come together. Two sides of the same coin. Crime is a legal term. The definition of an avera in English is a sin, not a crime, transgression. It is impossible that a person is over avera, mevatel mitzvah chiyuvis, and he doesn't bear responsibility. He won't be punished. So that is my maskona. The idna deritcha doesn't mean, was it an idna deritcha when I didn't wear tzitzis? No. Doesn't depend when it was when he didn't wear tzitzis. But it'll catch up with you. When a idna deritcha will arrive, then you will be called upon. And that is when you will be punished. So see to it that you do tshuva before that moment arrives. So that is my understanding in the concept of idna deritcha. What we take away from today's shir is not only regarding tzitzis, but all the other mitzvahs. So let me share with you two shaylas that I was asked more than once, and a different response. A lot of American kids like sports, even yeshiva boys. The American yeshivas, and as I saw, there's a league, and they get together once in a while, playing baseball, basketball. American kids like sports. So a lot of kids ask me from time to time, could I take my tzitzis off when I play basketball? What I say, you don't need to take your tzitzis off. You have a bigger problem wearing your yarmulke when you play basketball, but you understand you're not going to take off your kippah. So I say, well, mitzvah tzitzis is important enough and precious enough. So you're going to sweat a little more. Ken? Come in, Yeshua. So you're going to share the last 3 minutes of my shir. Come, sit down. So Rabbi Shua Teller just walked into the room. He's my new assistant. You need to get to know Yeshua Teller, sitting right next to me. Choshev, a Talmud of mine and a Talmud Chacham. Rabbi,
could you show your face so we can see you for a second? This will be, you're a very important person in our life going forward.
So Rabbi Sprung became the Rav of Shaarei Tzedek Hospital, and Rabbi Teller stepped in to be my personal assistant and secretary. He's a Talmud of mine. He learned in Kollel for years, Baruch Hashem. So I tell those young American boys, play basketball with your talis cotton. Please, you're going to have some Mesidas Nefesh playing basketball. Well, it requires Mesidas Nefesh. So you're going to waste your time. Might be a Moshe Leitzim. At least have some Mesidas Nefesh when you're playing ball and play it with your tzitzis. The other question was a young soldier in what is in America defined as SF, Special Forces. He's in Tzanchanim, and he needs to run 6 kilometers under the Middle Eastern sun in the middle of the day. And he has a jerrycan of water, about 3 liters of water that needs to keep him going, and he needs to run 6 kilometers. And he asks, could I take off my tzitzis? Well, I say, if the Mishnah Brur is Pshat and Siman Kuf Chav Ches is, a kohen that is weak, he could leave the shul and he doesn't have to walk up the steps to Duchan. If you need to run 6 kilometers in the Middle Eastern sun, you could take off your tzitzis. So I was more lenient with a boy in the army than I was with our kids playing basketball. You want to have fun, play basketball, do it with your tzitzis. But I told that young soldier that if you're going to run those 6K with your tzitzis, schoroi harba miyoid. That's real Mesidas Nefesh for a precious mitzvah. So this brings our today's shir to a climax. Fascinating.
Two quick questions.
Yes. Yes.
Question number one, the Ilam is chatting me here. Is there any possibility of defining what Idn Riska means? Does it mean individual Idn Riska? Does it mean Idn Riska of Klal Yisrael? Do we have any idea?
How would we know? I really don't know. I thought about this. I really don't know. I think it is the Idn Riska of Klal Yisrael. Because the Gemara in Brochas Daf Daled, and once again in Avodah Zarah says that there is one moment every day in which HaKadosh Baruch Hu was angry. And Bilam knew when that moment comes, and that was his chachma. That was why he had a diploma in klolos, because he knew when is the Keil Zoyim B'Kol Yoim. So I think it's the same concept. That is a concept of Idne Deritcha, and that is that moment that comes once a day, in which the pasuk says Keil Zoyim B'Kol Yoim. I don't have any sources, but I think Idne Deritcha probably is a general concept and not an individual one.
Okay, one more question. If you can scroll back to that Medrash Rabbah, a very strange Medrash Rabbah, where Klal Yisrael was Darish. The Rav brings it in his Samar Mekam is very prominently. Klal Yisrael was Darish, Shalom of Sichen v'Oig. Even though it would seem that not see that right there. It would seem,
Here we are.
what is the pshat in this? Because Baruch Hu told them, Rosh v'Hizgav. So why were they ready to show when they got a direct sivui not to do that? What's the pshat in that? The last two lines.
So the reason I quoted this Medrash Rabbah is just because what we learn from the Medrash Rabbah is there are some mitzvahs that you're only mechuyev coincidental, but you don't need to go out of your way to look for those mitzvahs besides shalom. But the question regarding sichen v'oig is really an interesting question. Klal Yisrael understood that ultimately we will need to fight them, as was in the end. But after Piken, Bakesh Shalom v'rodfeu. It is HaKadosh Baruch Hu's will that at least we make an effort. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu told them in advance, and at the end there was a malchama, but Klal Yisrael, based on the posik Bakesh Shalom v'rodfeu, felt that it is probably Yisrael Hashem. And that is actually what the Torah teaches us, even by Kibbush Etzisor. First of all, we need to give them an option to leave. And that's the way we need to understand this medrash. But the reason I had this medrash on a source sheet is because the medrash teaches us that by many mitzvahs, it is only if it happens. And I think most of these mitzvahs are, mitzvahs that are all about the result and the outcome, and not about the avodas Hashem. So etzem mitzvah, and that is in my simon in Pasha Shalach. This is one of the chilukim I made. And the concept of Idn Riska applies only to avodas Hashem, like tzitzis, like berachos koyanim, like mipnei sevet takum, and not by mitzvahs which are all about the result and the outcome. Okay.
Okay, Rabbi said today.